6 o'clock, February 25th, roughly thereabouts in terms of the time. First decent sky since I got back from Tucson almost a week and a half ago. Supposed to have 4 or 5 serious nights of deep sky potentiality. And normally I would walk over to the observatory and set up, take the 3 or 4 minutes to get the scope all set up, but you know, we're not going to do that tonight. You know why? Because we're going to use El Quatro and go circumpolar. So we are going to traverse the rounders this evening. We're going to be doing it initially, at least, using the ZWO camera, which is tied into the ASIair local area network transmitter. And we're going to go back in the house and go up to the monitor screen on the laptop, which has the software for ASIair downloaded. I'm going to initially use ASIair. It's pretty cold outside. ASIair I am less satisfied with as the application to be used. I'd rather be out with the scope using the ASI Studio. It gives you far more control. It also allows you to zoom. But all I really want to do now is try this out while it's cold from indoors, and then I will be capturing images beginning with, I've got it all printed out now, folks, so I should give you real-time data. NGC 650, otherwise known as Messier 76, the little dumbbell. Now I may go back to a few of these other studies first. I'll find one, just so that we can compare to previous images. But that is the plan for the evening. Now, because I'm getting so few clear skies and the moon's coming back in the picture, I may be actually out here for several sessions this evening. And I may actually, if I'm not satisfied with ASIair, relocate the laptop to the scope, plugging in the ZWO imager directly into the laptop, and use the much superior ASI Studio app, which gives me much more control over image presentation. So there is the lead-in to my very first use of the El Quatro with the ZWO imager and ASIair in this particular instance here in John Day, Oregon. Okay, I got a bit lazy and I only used the finder scope, which roughly lined up. We're going to see if we're going to see anything here now. I'm doing a 5-second exposure into Ursa Majoris, and we are seeing a few things here. Unfortunately, they're not in a very good position. These, in fact, are galaxies Messier 81 at 82, 640, so the sky isn't dark yet. So this is 81 down here. It's not a very good sky position. Let's see if I can do a zoom and clear this thing out. Yeah. However, at least it's on the screen, and given the fact that I just used the finder scope, I didn't take out an eyepiece to do the alignments, it looks like I can zoom in. It's just that we're going to expect to see most of, just briefly, I think it's probably about went from maybe 20 to 30% zoom, and that's what I'm limited to here using this particular ASIair interface. But there is an early evening before sky dark view of Messier 81 and 82. However, that's later on in the list, because I think in terms of NGC numbers, they're up somewhere around 3,000, I'm just guessing. So what we're going to do now is I am going to assume most studies that we're going to center on tonight are going to be in this region of the screen. Sorry, it really is very challenging to do an alignment, even with an eyepiece, getting everything to line up well using the ASIair, and the ZWO system. However, we did manage to capture both of them on the field of view, and I'm pleased with that. The focus is pretty good. As you can see, there's no annularities. There's just stellar disks. So what we're going to do now is we're going to begin the evening's exploration of the NGC series, which I call the rounders, because everything is 45 degrees north plus in terms of celestial latitude. And I want to get through this catalog. I'm delayed by at least a month right now, so things are going to be rather progressed to the west. But let's get started. Okay, before we have a look at NGC 650, I want to point out something. The scope is being partially blocked, so we're not going to get the best kind of view. It's being blocked because I parked it behind. I parked it under the awning looking north, and NGC 650 is, I'll give you the data on it so you'll understand better. NGC 650, otherwise known as Messier 76, the little dumbbell nebula, it's at 1 hour 42 minutes 18.1 seconds and plus 51 degrees 34/16 in declination. Its magnitude is 10.1. Its size is of course the little dumbbell, basically 63 by 107 arc seconds. There's also associated with it NGC 651, pretty much at the same coordinates, pretty much the same brightness. Both are planetary nebulas, and they're both located in Perseus. Now let me clear off a few things from the screen so we can see if it's anywhere to be found. And I am not seeing it. So what I'm going to do, and there's a little bit of luminosity reflecting off here, we're going to go to an exposure time of 10 seconds. I'm getting a pretty good download rate right now. So right now the camera is shooting the image, and if you look over in this part of the screen, you're going to get it's preparing the image for transfer. We're getting a pretty high transfer rate. So here's our view. You can center that up a little bit to make it darker. You can push it off to the right. So now I've basically set the boundaries for the imaging, and this is in a different part of the sky than 81 and 82 were. Fortunately, I got an image of these babies last time from Tucson. I am not seeing anywhere on the screen, but they should be somewhere over here. And I can't do any zoom functions, of course, because we're not in the middle of the screen. So let's give this a pass on the dumbbell planetary. Okay, we're about to get a 10-second exposure. We're shooting it right now with the camera. We will get a download from the ASIair. It'll populate the screen, and I'll tell you what this is supposed to be, and hopefully it will be somewhere on the screen. Nice field of stars. Our next look is NGC 654. It's in Cassiopeia, so it's not being blocked in any way. The data on it is magnitude 6.5, and it's an open cluster, obviously. Size 5 arc minutes, and through a 13-inch telescope, as reported. I forget his name right now, but he did a great deal of work documenting the various NGC catalogs from both the north and the southern hemisphere. There should be some 35 stars through a 13-inch scope, and we should be able to exceed that tonight. It includes several doubles. It's located just southwest of magnitude 7.3 HD 1094. And this is about the brightest star on the screen. It's also a likely member of the cluster, so if that is it, then that cluster should be in that region. Okay, so type 2-3, which means stars are fairly well matched, middling matched, but they're kind of spaced out apart in Cassiopeia. It's at right ascension 1 hour 43 minutes 59 seconds, declination plus 61, 52, 58, magnitude 6.5, and its apparent size is about 6 arc minutes. Now I can't claim to see it on the screen, but we're going to push on to the next study, and hopefully we'll be able to verify that we are seeing studies 2 setting to the west. Okay, our next study is going to be NGC 657. It's also another open cluster. Type OCL, just OCL so it hasn't been attributed. NGC 657 is at 1 hour 43 minutes 21 seconds plus 55 degrees, 50.2 arc minutes. Smallish, 3 by 3 arc minutes. It's at a distance of 6,300 light years, and through a 17.5 inch scope, it's described as very unimpressive asterism near to the double star 0 Sigma 35, which has magnitudes of 7.2, 10.4, at some 13 arc seconds, which should be resolvable at this scale on the screen. Open cluster, as I said, in Cassiopeia, give you the right ascension. Its dimensions as attributed in the NGC catalog are 7 arc minutes in size. This was reported 3 by 3 earlier, according to our fellow astronomers' notes. Well, if we're seeing it at all, it, like many other areas in Cassiopeia, is rich in stars and star clusters. Our next study will be NGC 659. Excuse me. It, once again, is going to be an open cluster. It's a type 3-1, which means it should be pretty compact, and there should be quite a bit of variability. There's some peculiarities to it, too. 659 is at hour 1, 44 minutes, 23 seconds, 60 degrees north, 40 minutes and 12 seconds in Cassiopeia. Its summary magnitude is 7.9. It's a mere 5 arc minutes in size. A 13.1 inch scope revealed 18 stars at 166x over some haze. In the field to the northwest is 663. Let me go ahead and remove the interface so you can see it more fully. It's an open cluster type 3-1, as I said, and visual magnitude 7.9, some 6 arc minutes in size. So there's so many stars on the screen. You have to keep in mind that when they originally discovered many of these studies, they couldn't see stars this faint. So they were seeing a grouping of stars that were obvious to the eye. For instance, in this region here, there's some brighter stars. Now, I am still not sure that we're actually seeing anything that we hope to see, but we did see M81 and M82, but that was in the eastern part of the sky after a 3-star alignment. Our next study is NGC 663, which should reveal itself briefly. It did. I'll go ahead. The background sky looks great. Finally, we have a definable cluster, but it's very low on the screen. I'm a little bit concerned with that. I wish I knew what low meant, because then I would make a slight adjustment to the mount and correct for it. Probably will do this one on this one. I'll just assume that I'm going to push the mount a little bit to the south using the declination setting. But anyway, NGC 663's it's at 1 hour 46 minutes 16 seconds plus 16 degrees 13 minutes. It's in Cassiopeia. Visual magnitude 7.1. Blue violet is 7.78, so that's a 0.68 delta, which means it's a fairly mature cluster in my estimation. Size is 16 minutes. A 13.1 inch scope should show some 75 stars. It's fairly large and rich, includes several doubles. The most prominent are STF 153 that are about 8 arc seconds separated, 9.3 and 10.3 magnitude. I won't tell you the rest of the stars in the doubles. Open cluster type 3-2, M in Cassiopeia, not sure what the M refers to. I gave you the position in the sky, magnitude 7.1, and it's about 15 arc minutes in size. So I am going to slightly crank the declination one direction or the other to see if I can slightly correct for the position error we're seeing on the screen. Okay, we should be catching it. Let's see if I improved it at all. Nah, didn't really. You can see the cluster here. It seems to be moving in this direction across the screen. I like the way it's centered. Maybe I'll play with the RA and deck just a little bit. We shall see. Or maybe I'll leave it like that. Let's leave it alone. I'm going to move on to the next study and maybe play with that one. Okay, our next study is going to be NGC 743. So we've skipped quite a ways. We've gone from 1 hour 46 minutes to 1 hour 58 minutes, 31 seconds plus 60 degrees, so well away from the roof of the garage. It's in Cassiopeia. It's a 5 arc minute size open cluster, type 3P, so 2-1P, so it has peculiarities in Cassiopeia. Stars should be moderately disparate in magnitude, and I wasn't watching the screen, but I assume we have captured our image. It does look like things are a little out of focus. Should be looking over in this region here. It's been described as consisting of 24 stars in about a 6-inch arc minute region, including 10 brighter 9 to 11.5 magnitude stars. Once again, 24 stars. We should be looking in this region over here. Once again, I'm kind of lost, but who knows? Maybe it's up here. These look like brighter stars as well. So no consistency yet. They have the brightest star is magnitude 7.8, which would roughly be this baby here. It's on the screen, and it's on the north and northeast edge of the cluster. Pretty scattered appearance. It's an open cluster type. Wow, 1, 4, 2P in Perseus. So 1 meaning that could be now that's an IV. So the stars are very disparate in magnitude, and it's a class 2 with peculiarities. That's our view. Who knows what we're seeing out here on the screen now? Peppered with lots and lots of stars, however. Our next study will be NGC 744. It's pretty close to the previous NGC 743. 1 hour, 58 minutes and 30. Very close, because they're both 1 hour, 58 minutes and 30. This, however, is 5 degrees further south. 55, so it's about 5 degrees away, in fact. Plus 55 degrees, 28 minutes and 30 seconds. Pretty close to being blocked by the wall of the garage. Visual magnitude 7.9, about 11 arc minutes in size. A 13-inch telescope shows about 24 stars in a 7 arc minute region, including several fairly bright stars. The brightest is magnitude 7.8, and it has a scattered appearance. So the brightest, let's get this over here. Now it looks like we're losing a little bit of focus. But the brightest star on the screen is right about here. Oh, there's actually quite a brighter one here, but I think I've probably got a larger field of view. I may want to play with the focus a little bit on our next study. Anyway, that's our view of NGC 744. We will be moving, hopefully, we'll be moving on to NGC 869. And that one should be pretty telltale. All right, let's see what reveals itself. Ah! All right. Not bad. We're over here now. Let's leave it there and see if our next studies. Remember, I'm doing this to the west. We got a pretty good view to the east, but was down here with Messier 81 and 82. Very nice. There's our view of NGC, the double cluster, NGC 884, and down below is 869. We'll go ahead and review that again. 869. Okay, I'm hoping we're going to get 869 somewhere on the screen, but apparently it's down here. So, I think I might have to play with the deck a little bit more. Although it did tend to push it in this direction, and that was the direction Right Ascension went in. So I will try the deck a little bit more. I'm not going to go back and recover all these studies, unfortunately, because they are westering pretty quickly. Maybe I will, maybe I won't, but I'm going to go ahead and throw this up just to be instructive of what you have to go through with this Skywatcher 6. I'm just not particularly pleased with the alignment situation I have to go through. Not so much the mount, although the mount navigation is a bit challenging compared to the Losman D, but mostly due to the fact that I have to do it under such unusual conditions, like being not out in 360-degree view of space and stellar alignments, and having to use the zero to actually do the alignments. If I have more time, tomorrow I will drop an eyepiece in, but tonight was not possible. It was just pressing too much. I've got too much to do. Okay, you get to see it with me. Aha, I did push it up a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and play with the declination a little bit more and try to get it up into this region here. One thing I want to point out is I'm doing 10-second exposures, and I am getting really deep sky. The sky looks very good out here. As good as when I was in the desert outside of, I believe as good as when I was in the desert outside of Tucson for my best night out there. So let me go ahead now. I'm going to push the declination up a little bit higher, and then we'll move on. Okay, we're about to get our revelation to see if that works. Here is our view. Hopefully it is NGC 869 double cluster in Perseus, 2 hours, 19 minutes, 4 seconds, plus 57 degrees. Visual cumulative magnitude 4.6. 30 arc minutes in size, which means all of this is about half the field is over a degree. And I'm going to go ahead and make a quick jump to 884 to see if it also ends up roughly in the same position. And then we'll move on. All right, NGC 884 actually did end up, and we are seeing the double cluster on the screen. I'll give you the data on NGC 884. Double cluster, 2 hours, 22 minutes, 32 seconds, plus 57 degrees, 8 minutes, 30 arc minutes in size, magnitude 6.1 total, 4.4 in the blue violet. So as I said before, quite an old cluster. Distance of 9.6 thousand light years. Hipparchus cataloged the double cluster about 130 BC and Ptolemy copied it into his Almagest. It's a type 1,3R in Perseus, and 18 arc minutes in size according to NGC catalog online. Okay, let's say we're pretty happy with these alignments. I think I might want to spend a little more time on focus. Let me go on to our next study, and I will play with the focus just a little bit on that one, the double cluster in Perseus. Okay, our next study coming up is NGC 896. I skipped to a nebula. This is NGC 896, and you can see the nebulosity down here below. Very, very nice. Now notice I did purchase a deep sky filter, which may be one of the reasons why we're getting such good views with a nice dark background sky. Okay, I'm going to go back to 886 in a minute. It's a nebula at 2 hours, 25 minutes, 31 seconds, plus 62 degrees and 54 seconds. It's in Cassiopeia. Its size is 23 by 13 arc minutes, and through a 17.5 inch scope at 100x with an O3 filter. Now, this is not an O3. It's fairly bright emission nebula, very large, about 20 arc minutes in diameter, diffuse or supernova remnant, type EN. So it's an emissive nebula in Cassiopeia. I already gave you the location. Its dimensions, according to the NGC catalog, are 10 by 10. I'm going to go back to NGC 886 next so we can get a look at that open cluster. But there is our view. It'd be nice if it was a little further up, but let's live with that. I don't want to make any more adjustments, however. The camera is showing the screen a little bright. I don't want to play with it because it's Nope, I've got 2 bars left on the camera. Let's see if we can end up through this series and switch to another camera next. Okay, NGC 886. Let's see if I play with this a little bit. Darken the sky up a little bit. Let's go back over to here. That's very nice. NGC 886, or 886. It's at 2 hours, 23 minutes, 12 seconds, plus 63 degrees, 46 minutes. It's in Cassiopeia. Size is about 14 arc minutes through a 17.5-inch telescope. Its brightest member is magnitude 8.5 at the north vertex. Okay, and a nice collinear triple star with a close pair, roughly 10 arc seconds, marks the southwest corner. We'll have to look for that on the screen. Only a few magnitude 13 stars are in the interior of this cluster. It's a type OCL, so it's not very specific, in Cassiopeia. Its dimensions are about 14 arc minutes. I would assume our cluster is right about here, and I am seeing a bit of a double star. I could perhaps play with the focus a little bit more. But our next study is our very first galaxy of the evening. Okay, sorry folks. Our next study, NGC 920, is too far south. It's a galaxy at 2 hours, 28 minutes, 46 seconds, 45 degrees, 58 minutes, 14 minutes. Its visual magnitude would have been 13.7, 1.1 by 0.4, so a nice thinly aspected ratio. Surface brightness of, I think it's 12.7. Position angle 34 degrees, magnitude 15.6 in the blue. Whoa. So this must be a fairly mature galaxy. So the deltas on it are 1.9, which means it's probably, and I didn't see it here, probably an elliptical galaxy. On a 17.5-inch scope, if you weren't looking at a wall with reflected light, fairly faint, fairly small, elongated 5:2 ratio, south-southwest to north-northeast, 1 by 0.4 arc minutes, broad concentration to fairly bright core and occasional stellar nucleus. None of that's what would surprise me, even through the Rev 2, which gives pretty good views of 13th magnitude galaxies. That is just the data. I'm sorry, we're going to have to wait till next year before we capture this one. All right, we're going to get pretty much the same view for NGC 933. It's at 2 hours, 29 minutes, 17 seconds, plus 45 degrees. Blue-violet magnitude 15.5, visual 13.8. The J magnitude is 11.06, the H is 10.37, and the K 10.12. All of those are thermal. Deltas of 1.7, 4.46, 5.13, and 0.25. That points pretty much to an elliptical class galaxy in my estimation. Size would have been 1.3 by 0.9 arc minutes with a surface brightness average of 13.8 per roundish arc minute. Position angle 35 degrees. In an 18-inch telescope, it would have been faint, small, round, about 0.8 arc minutes in diameter, with a weak concentration but no well-defined core. The galaxy would have been in Andromeda, but we ain't seeing it tonight. The next study, which would be the last, would be 957. However, it is not a galaxy. It once again is a cluster. I would have to say the ASIair is doing a pretty good job tonight. And here is our cluster. Let me clear the screen. This is our final study on the list for tonight. However, NGC 1027, I will have another view of Messier 81 and 82. Hopefully they'll end up on the screen reasonably well. I will also project ahead to a study we'll be reproducing in the future video, and we'll be doing a comparo. But I think that future video will be tonight. I'll grab another camera and I will capture the images for that. This is NGC 957 at 2 hours, 33 minutes, 19 seconds, plus 57 degrees, 34 minutes. Its magnitude cumulatively in the visual is 7.6, basically about 11 arc minutes in size. An 8-inch scope would show 30 stars in the cluster, fairly large, moderately rich, elongated to the east and the west. So that gives us an idea east and west there, or west and east. I'm not sure, nor have I gotten into. There's some unresolved haze, which we're clearly seeing there, is actually seeing some resolution of fainter stars. Open cluster type 3, 2 with peculiarities in Perseus. Magnitude 7.6, 10 arc minutes. This is the last study of the evening, and I will go ahead and take a look at NGC 1027. It's a galaxy, and then we will finish up with M81 and 82 as our concluding Carpe Noctem view. Okay, while the ZWO is shooting the image, I'll give you some data on NGC 1027. It's at 2 hours, 42 minutes, and 35 seconds, 61 degrees, 35 minutes, 42 seconds. So it is well placed. It's the size is about 20 arc minutes. I thought this was going to be a galaxy when it wasn't. 17.5-inch scope would show 90 stars, some 15 arc minutes in diameter. Yeah, that is pretty populating the stars. I figure we're getting the results of at least a 20-inch telescope tonight at 10 seconds exposure. There's about 15, includes 15 magnitude 10 to 11 stars and many magnitude 13 to 14s. Open cluster type 3, Roman numeral 3, so very disparate. 2, fairly close, moderately close together in Cassiopeia. Cumulative magnitude 6.7, which typically means in this kind of cluster the brightest stars are going to be probably 2 magnitudes fainter. Its dimension is 15 arc minutes. Let's go have, I'm sure, another asterism, so forget that. We're going to go have a look at M81 and M82 and hope they turn up somewhere nicely on the screen for our Carpe Noctem view of this part of the session. And I have 2 bars left because the camera is warm and inside and hasn't been depleted, being out in the cold, and neither have I. Well, this is going to be a shot in the dark, well, literally almost. We just had to do an equatorial pole flip in order to go to Messier 81 and 82, and after I screwed around with a declination right ascension, there's no guarantees we're going to see it anywhere on the screen. Whoa, we are seeing it on the screen. Look at the spiral arms. Let's do a 30-second exposure on this baby and see if we can pull it off. 10-second exposures were rather challenging in the backyard of Tucson because it was just too much light. We'll do this 30-second exposure, let it play out. Kind of high up on the screen, but I'm not really emphasizing studies that are to the west this evening because I'm playing catch-up. Ketchup, not mustard. Anyway, bad joke. Let's put this at the peak. Slide this over a little bit. Oh, it makes it look prettier, doesn't it? All right, here we go. Oh, wow. Look at that. Let's put it back at the peak. This is a 30-second exposure of Messier 81. You can see the spiral arms. Kind of losing them a little bit, but it's giving a better aesthetic view when we slide the bar over to the right. I would say that's our view, our Carpe Noctem view. I could go to Messier 82, but what I will do is continue this evening with a different camera, having shown you the nice spiral extensions of Messier 81, which I do not have any data on at this point. We'll have to cover it later on in our rounders of circumpolar NGC studies in the future. So I'm going to say Carpe Noctem. Oh, maybe we can get a better view this way. Oh yeah, look at that. Yeah, zowie. We were zoomed in, now we're zoomed out. There is our Carpe Noctem view of a beautiful spiral galaxy, Messier 81.